Hello everyone and welcome back to the next episode of the Road to FIDE Master series, in which I will cover the 7th round of the Chess Eagles Chess Festival. This is the last round of the tournament. This is the 16th episode of the series. Hopefully you like it. Let's jump straight into the game. So, I was paired with Irina Barczuk with white pieces. She is a woman FIDE Master rated 2095. She was listed second on the starting list just behind me, and even though she lost the first round, then she went on a winning streak, getting 5 out of 5, so together 5 out of 6, same as me. So we were basically fighting against each other for the top place, but thanks to me having good tie breaks, a draw in this game would guarantee me the first place for like 85%. So for this reason, and because I had white pieces, I feel like I come to the game with the, let's say, position of power, and I will offer a draw to my opponent, and she will have to decide whether she wants to risk falling far down the standings, because with a draw she would be second on third, with a loss she might be even like 7th, or is she really going to push for a win with black pieces to win the whole tournament. So the very interesting dynamic even before the game started, so let's see the game itself. So I started with the move d4 and then knight f3, solid setup that I like quite a lot and I use quite a lot too. And already on the move number 3 I decided to offer my opponent a draw, and I saw on her face that she is not too happy with the proposal, mainly due to the fact that the draw offer might be tempting because she has black pieces, and as I've said at the intro, it would help her to guarantee the top 3 place. But on the other hand, she knew that she wanted to go for the top, for the first prize, so she refused to take a draw eventually, and I very like her decision, very much like it, because, you know, we in the end came here all to fight. So I was trying to make a draw, she refused it, so okay, now the game is on. I decided to play a knight b to d2 move. I think it's not the main line, but I had such a plan for this game. And after that I opted to go for g3 and then bishop g2 and castle setup. In the meantime though, I was constantly checking if my opponent can try to take on c4, and I felt like she cannot. For example, at this point with my bishop already on g2 but her pawn already on c6, I calculated the line that after d takes c4 I can simply play a4, and she cannot have like b5 move, because why would she have that, right? After b5 takes, I have knight e5, I'm winning the material here, right? Well, no, because she has knight d5, which initially I completely missed. So after playing bishop g2 I went to the bathroom, and while I was in the bathroom, obviously I was not checking the engine, I was just thinking about the position in my head. I was like, wait a second, she has knight d5 at the end, right? Uh-oh. So I then rushed out of the bathroom to look at the chessboard, like from the distance, whether she played a move. She did, and I saw that she did not take a pawn at this point, so I was feeling relieved, because then I didn't have to figure out what to do, because it's not like I dislike these positions a lot, it's more about the dynamic of the game. As I've said, a draw would be very good for me, so why would I risk giving away the pawn for the initiative, when in reality I would rather have a calm, very direct position with not so many things going on, right? So that was my idea, and thankfully she did not go for it. So after castling, this move is not working anymore because I can simply take back with the knight. So she castled 2, queen c2, rook e8, and I believe this should be the first critical moment of the game, because I can push e4, which is always tempting in Catalan, always desired and so on, but I can also try to wait with it and, for example, play either rook d1, developing move, or maybe b3 with the idea of bishop d2. Both are fine. I was kind of in a rush. I mean, I wanted to exchange as quickly as possible, as many pieces as possible, and so on. So I decided to go simply for e4, saying and thinking that, okay, I will be better in terms of structure, in terms of the activity, advantage, space advantage, sorry, so like what's the matter, right? And the matter is this: she can try to exchange on d2, exchange on e4 once and twice, and not go for knight f6 move, which to me felt like more natural one, because after that I can for sure play queen e3, queen c3, and basically have everything I wanted. So bishop pair, control over the center, e5 is not that threatening because I can simply take, and with similar pawn structure, bishop pair, open position, better development, I should not be ever losing this game. And if I did not win it, well, I'm still happy, right? Because a draw is a good one for me. But obviously at this point she did not go for knight f6, but she played e5, and this is the move that I was not like missing initially. I was just underestimating it, and when it actually happened on the board I felt okay, I might have some problems. Why? Because it seems like if I take, I get very similar position to the one that I just showed you guys, right? So, which was this one. But actually queen placement changes a lot due to the fact that there are some problems on the e file. I was not 100% sure how big those problems were, but it's never pleasant to face them. And for example, if I calculated a move like queen c2, even though I have the bishop pair, I was really unsure if my opponent can play like bishop g4, knight f3, g5, queen f6, and I was like, what's with the bishop pair? I don't have nothing thanks to it, right? This is the knight, this is the piece, the power piece, right? Like making my position very bad one with like even checkmate threats. So I was very much disliking the position, and at this point I was thinking about, okay, maybe this is not as bad, maybe I can simply like develop the bishop or something, but it was all very shaky and I wanted to have as solid game as possible, and the choice I made in the game did not show it, but really guys, I wanted to have that. But yeah, d takes e5 did not look appealing to me. I'm not happy with myself that I did not spend much time with queen e3 move, very tricky move, trying to basically go away from the knight f6 attack with tempo and still keeping an eye on e5 pawn. So knight cannot jump there because I can take, and after knight g4 now I get this preferable queen placement, right? So this was the variation to consider. But I felt like this might be it, but then I felt, well, maybe not, it's strange looking, like, well, no, I will not play it. So, but what else? I cannot take here, I dislike this move. Rook d1 actually would went into the knight f6 as I've mentioned, because for example I cannot even go to this endgame because I would get checkmated on the first rank, right? So I cannot do that. So the only other candidate moves is like bishop e3, once again not that appealing, and d5. And as you can guess, d5 is the move I chose in the game, but really guys, I wanted to just draw, I did not want to push that much for a win, but d5 does not show it. Well, what's the problem with d5 move? The problems will be even bigger than in the d takes e5 variation. Why? Because after simple knight f6, I am losing a pawn in two moves. Well, that's the problem. Did I see it? Yes. Did I like estimate it correctly? No, I once again underestimated what my opponent can do to me, because at first I felt like I can play queen c2, so that's why I played d5. But after playing d5, pressing the clock, even before I noted the move, I saw that, well, she can take, and she's not worried about this move because of queen c7. I missed this, and after 2 seconds after the move, I saw it. And the funny thing is that, guys, if you look at the eval bar is saying, so what? You have a pawn down, what's there to worry about? Well, as a human I was worried, because I have one less pawn. As an engine, you are not that worried, because you know that you have the bishop pair, control over the open files, and it's enough to compensate it. I was not sure about it. Now that I have analyzed the game a little bit deeper, I know that perhaps indeed I would be okay here, but to make that decision and give this pawn so freely to the opponent was a hard task really, so I decided not to go for this variation. And because of that, if not queen c2, what else can I play? Bishop g5 I did not like because of the possibility of take here, and I would be once again a pawn down. Once again computer is saying, so what? But well, yeah, I don't feel like this position is nice to continue. And queen e2. Queen e2 is the one last chance to try to play for anything, and I did that, but the problem is that after she takes and play e4, I basically lost the contact with my pawn. After bishop g5, which is practically the best attempt, I would say, she takes the pawn, and even though I disrupt her pawn chain, I am just simply a pawn down. So I was not that sure at this point what have I done wrong. I mean, okay, d5 was bad one, but then if you open up the computer evaluation, d5 is the best objective move. So like, who can you trust? Yourself, your opponent, when she says after the game that d5 was not great, I know that d5 is not great, or the computer, which says that d5 was the best, right? So that's the problem when analyzing with computers, they are just, without heart, and they are simply, spitting the variations that sometimes you just don't understand. And yeah, that's the problem. Even though I played, let's say, objectively the best line, I ended up without a pawn because I couldn't find then the precise moves, and my position is simply not that great. So, what are the ideas in here? I played rook fd1, logical move, and I was really hoping to see queen e5 move, after which I've prepared an amazing line to try to look for a draw, which is this. Queen e4, sacrificing a bishop. Why? Because after that I can simply give a check and get the bishop back and go into a rook endgame that I evaluated quite deeply and felt like it might be drawing. So, because she attacks my a2 pawn, I have to attack her b pawn. If she now pushes a pawn, I will push mine. Rook b4, rook c5, if she takes, I play rook b5. If she plays b6, rook c6, so I will not allow her to have two connected passers, and with only one, with such pawn placement and king placement, I should be able to draw the game. I spent quite a lot of time to consider this specific position, or maybe this one. What are her options? Pushing this pawn, or taking immediately, and so on. I felt, okay, I might be drawing this. And in the end, queen e5 seems like a logical move, centralizing the queen, making the queen protect the pawn, so why not play it? I'm not sure why my opponent did not go for it. Maybe she saw the line. If so, very nice of her to see that, because I believe that such move is not the one that you normally expect. But maybe just by chance, by luck, she opted for queen g5 move, which is just not allowing me to take the pawn because of the pins. That's the other tactic, but also not allowing me to take here for obvious reasons. And because of that, I had to think about some other ways of dealing with the position. I went with rook d4, and after bishop g3, I was really unsure how to evaluate an endgame after queen e3 move, because okay, computer once again says it's 0.00, but I did not fancy the idea that I will be making myself additional weakness, but perhaps it was the way to go, because in return I have the semi-open f-file trying to target those pawns. In here also I have some pressure, so practically perhaps I would be able to save the game, but yeah, I didn't go for it. I just decided, okay, I will just simply drop back and try to activate my queen. And guys, when I say that I've played this game badly, I'm not even saying like half of the truth. Why? Because at this point I was calculating many moves, and I decided to go in the end with queen a5, with the idea that I've calculated b6, this and that, and only once again 2 seconds after the move I spotted that she will simply play queen f6, going away from this pin, which was my initial idea. Not only that, she will attack both my pawn and a rook, and I was like, what am I even doing? I'm calculating this crazy looking 10 moves variations, when in reality I am missing simple replies, like one move only, So that was very frustrating really, because at this point I can either play here, basically admitting that I lost a tempo, and I cannot afford losing tempos when being a pawn down. So I decided once again, for like third or fourth time this tournament during the games, to bluff and continue bluffing. I played rook d5 with the idea that okay, it was all prepared, and I want to just put the pressure to the pawn, push h3 maybe, and so on. After queen b2, I had one more interesting choice, whether or not to go to e1 or f1. I made up my mind finally. I want to go to f1. What did I play? Rook e1. So yeah, pretty, I don't know, like brainless or whatever, but each decision was worse than the previous one. In here, really, like I've calculated, okay, I want to have the rook on f1, and I played to e1. What's the problem with rook e1? After b6, queen b5, even though queen trade might be tempting, I felt like queen c3 might be even more powerful, because it comes with a tempo to the rook. That's why I then wanted to rather play rook f1, because after rook f1, e3 takes, it seems like I am on the verge of losing the game, because of this one tempo, this one little tempo that is missing, that I cannot, for example, play h3 in between or whatever else. But thankfully, my opponent tried to go into an endgame straight away, because having, 2 pawns usually it's enough. And finally, rook e1 played out fine, but yeah, the decision making and move making was not working completely. Anyway, she played rook a to d8, and I felt like I might be on the verge of drawing the game because I had a3 idea, and after bishop h5 I would not take here, I would play g4, making the pin. Here, take a pawn. Here, take a pawn. 2 pawns in my pocket, but obviously she played bishop f3 correctly. And yeah, how can now I play? So guys, when having such position, you have to consider what are the possible outcomes in terms of the pawn structures and the piece that you have left on the board and the drawing chances in those situations. So at this point I felt like having a rook endgame with all the rooks on the board might be the most beneficial for me. How to achieve that? Well, that's the whole other story. The second best outcome would be to have every piece on the board as we have now, because with the bishop perhaps I will be able to create also some counterplay. The worst one would be to have simple rook endgame with only one rook for each side. Why? Because many variations include my loss of the a2 pawn, leaving my opponent connected passers, so with one rook it's easy to win. What's the sample line? Let's say if I went here, 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 rook d2, and now if I went like this, here, take, 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 I'm just lost because of those two connected passers. They will just simply go hand in hand like friends till the promotion. So I cannot allow that. So with that in mind, I felt, okay, maybe I can try to keep both rooks on the board, but how to do it? So first of all, in this line, rook f5, I've missed the idea of, in here, abandoning the idea of getting this pawn, but rather activating my rook the way I wanted it to be, right? But in here, creating some pressure, but obviously e3 is the move that is quite scary, you know, putting the pressure here, threatening with the pawn promotion. So I felt like I saw rook c1, if I remember now correctly, but yeah, e3 was the move that cut it off everything for me, while in reality, actually, I can still go to c7 and basically not care about the pawn. Why and how is it possible? Well, for example, rook takes a2, rook takes f7, she takes, I take, she takes. I have two less pawns, but I can take one as of now, block the other, get the third one and draw the game. Just like that, guys, just like that. Obviously, very, very hard to see it all. And yeah, for those reasons, I abandoned the idea of taking on f5, and I've decided to play bishop f1. Once again, this variation would not work too, because I'm exchanging far too many rooks, and we can get into the very similar situation, meaning two connected passers, lost position. Alright, so bishop f1, what's the idea? I had two. After rook d2, which is obvious, I felt like I might try to take on c2 on f5 now, with the idea that only after rook c8 I will now play bishop g2, so going back and forth. And you may ask, well, what's the point, really? What's the point? The point is this, guys. After this, and let's say this, I can now finally get all the rooks on the board, not lose any of them, and maybe put some pressure to the opponent. If she's not, let's say, cautious and she tries to, I don't know, like push the pawns, I, for example, have a very amazing perpetual check. I will just go with the rooks on those squares. Those squares are taken and the king cannot really go through this whole barrier and I would draw the game. So some tricks like that. However, I couldn't figure out the way of dealing with the fact that at this point my opponent can simply play rook c4, holding this pawn. Once again, in my head, going into the variation of rook f4, rook a2, takes, takes. Once again, lost position, connected passers going to the promotion. But, I had the opportunity to, after rook f4 and her taking the pawn, to not take this one, but to go here, because this rook made the d-file open for my rook. So as of now I am 2 pawns down, but at least I have the activity, I have the 2 rooks, maybe I can push for a draw with the rook d7, rook d8 moves and so on. I didn't see that, so I didn't go for rook f5, so I went with bishop c4, which I knew is losing, but I just tried my best, you know, with the moves I got, the variations I was able to calculate. So at this point she played rook c8 and then rook c5. This is the killer blow, hammer blow and so on. After that move, I exchanged one pair of rooks without exchanging bishops, making my king even worse, making me like not possible for me to get any activity, mainly due to the fact that if I really try to go for this and this and that, I just simply get checkmated, right? If I push g4, then it's f4, closing the g3 square anyway, so nothing I can do, really, like just simply nothing. I just played few more moves trying to achieve I don't know what, and at the end she found very nice tactic, because either I go here and lose a rook because of the discovered track, or I go here and I lose a rook because after e2 my king is not possible to move anymore and I have to give up my rook. So just like that I lost a pawn. I felt clueless in terms of specific blunders that I've made outside of d5, but as I've told you guys, computer evaluates d5 as the best move at that point, so what can you do? Very good game by my opponent. Let's actually check the review, because I'm not that sure how well will it be, let's say, evaluated for her, but yeah, over 90% for sure. For me, unfortunately, only 80 something. So as you can tell, comparing this tournament to the previous one, my results were not as great, because during the first one I believe I scored many over 90s. In here I was mostly about 85, so not the good tournament. Deserved win for my opponent though, so I cannot be that mad at this game particularly. But in the end, 5 out of 7, it's not my, let's say, dreamed outcome. I will just show you a review without my face in it. So as you can tell, slowly but steadily I was getting worse and worse in the position. And yeah, she was playing amazingly the middle game, the end game, and that's why she won, deservedly, obviously. So let's sum up the whole tournament. I will tell you this, guys. Third place did not seem that great for me, because I was leading until the round number 4. Obviously then I lost a round, but then I won it back, so yeah, felt like I could have done much better. So third place is the least really I could have achieved. Not only that, because of this painful loss at the end, I am losing the 9 ELO rating points, so never feels nice either. With a draw, not only I would win the tournament, but also I would keep +1 in terms of FIDE rating, so it would be much better. But it is what it is. 5 out of 7 seems also kind of, let's say, fair, because I was not playing that well, so losing one game to the woman FIDE master and then one more on the way is, let's say, fair. But we have to come up with the conclusion, guys. I need to change my tournament selection, because for the past few years I was playing mostly in such tournaments, really, because I didn't have time to play in the big festivals. So this tournament was played out in the 4 days only. It was a very quick time control, not really allowing me to go deeper into the positions when I wanted to go, and that's not even the problem. The problem is the rating of the opponents. As you can tell, I scored 5 out of 7 and I lost nearly 10 rating points. So like with 4 out of 5 I was losing rating, so with such tournament selection I will not ever be able to get to the FIDE Master title, because I would have to win all the games all the time to really get my rating going up. So due to that fact, I am glad that I played the tournament. I could share the games with you guys and tell you that, okay, I might be even able to lose to, let's say, 1800 player. That's life, but in the end, because this FIDE Master is more important than winning some small tournaments here and there, perhaps I will abandon such tournaments in the future. I will focus mostly on some bigger festivals. And guys, when I'm recording it, I am just before the third tournament in a row. When you are watching it, perhaps I already finished the tournament, or maybe am just finishing it. And finally it will be a challenging one. I will not be by any means a good player in the field. I will be just at the bottom. So hopefully it went well. If you are watching it now, you may check the result perhaps, and hopefully the analysis will be rich in many nuances and so on. And hopefully I will not lose any more rating. We'll see about this. But as of now, thank you all for watching this tournament, this recaps. Hopefully we will meet again after the other tournament that I have just now finished playing with better, let's say, humor. And with that, once again, thank you all for watching. Don't forget to leave the thumbs up, and we'll see each other shortly. Bye bye.